So please join me in welcoming James Yee.
It's an honor and pleasure to be here in Bellevue today to once again have the opportunity to share with all of you a little bit about my experience as a Muslim American in this post-9/11 era. And I continue to do this as long as I know that it's helping in the effort to protect our civil liberties and our freedoms here in the United States. I converted to Islam back in 1991, shortly after I graduated West Point. But in 2001, when I re-entered or was reactivated, came back on active duty into the officer corps. This time it was as a Muslim chaplain. That was in January of 2001. That very same year, 2001, we all know what happened just 9 months later, September 11th. It was almost immediately following these attacks that I was approached by senior level leaders at Fort Lewis. And I was asked to begin training troops, educating troops, soldiers about Islam and the Muslim culture. But these are just ways in which the military in Guantanamo and federal agencies used religion as a weapon against the human beings in these cage-like cells. Right? And in my view, that was not the American way. Or that is not the American way. That was against our values as a nation. And I question whether this was right as to what we were doing in Guantanamo, and raised concerns to the chain of command about these practices. Well, eventually I was put in this single solitary cell in Charleston, and I was held there for 76 days. As accusations swirled in the media due to government leaks, that I was a terrorist spy. I was being accused of spying, espionage, aiding the enemy. Even those charges were then dropped. I was sent back to Fort Lewis, reinstated as a chaplain to serve the troops. How long do you think it took for me at that point to tender my resignation from the U.S. military? But when I received that award, to me, that was an admittance that they made a mistake. That what happened to me was a gross miscarriage of justice in this very dangerous post-9/11 era. But that's my story. And I believe it's very relevant to what's going on today. As the topic of this workshop is civil liberties in peril, I am someone who believes that our civil liberty, the first step to our civil liberties being in peril, is first striking fear into people that a certain group is dangerous, that they're suspects, they're bad people. And this is what we, who are defending the rights of Muslims in America, call Islamophobia. Right? And before I conclude, I want to show some relevant things that are going on today with Islamophobia. It was even the feature on a recent Time magazine asking the question, is America Islamophobic? Can you eliminate extremism? I think you're always going to have people who hold extreme ideologies and ideas. But what we have to combat is when those types of individuals who do hold those extremist views, and they have the right to hold these views, right? What we do have to combat is when these individuals violate the rights of others or take steps where they can harm others, right? And we should develop core strategies to fight that, right? I think one of the things that helps increase our community, the security of our community, security of our homeland and our country exponentially, is if you partner with the Muslim community to combat extremism that might be within the Muslim community, right? But that's not what is happening today. Instead, Muslim leadership in this country, American Muslim leadership, American Muslim organizations, the mosques, Islamic centers are being demonized as being characterized as contributing to the fostering of this extremist ideologies. And that's like what Congressman Peter King was saying, when he held these hearings. He's known to have said, 80% of mosques in this country are are run by extremists, things like that. But I think the proper way to go about this is to partner with the Muslim community, to partner with the leadership, right, in order to combat potential acts of violence. And as I mentioned in some of the incidences that I showed up on the slide, American Muslims were the first to respond in many of the recent attacks or attempted attacks. In that congressional hearing held by Peter King, actually the sheriff of Los Angeles County, Sheriff Baca, testified that Muslims, specifically in California where he is, have been very instrumental in helping the Homeland Security, right? And testified that he has allied and partnered with American Muslims to create a safer community, right? I think the kind of plan and kind of strategies that this particular expert in law enforcement has implemented is something that we should look very closely at.